Welcome everybody to Spirituality Adventures. We are doing a First Friday release. This is a Fred Loves KC. And one of the things all of you know about me is that I love to bicycle. So cycling is one of my, I call it a serious hobby. And so I get asked a lot, what is your favorite bicycle shop? I get people ask me all the time where to go for a bicycle shop. So I thought I'd start with my favorite and only bicycle shop that I go to in Kansas City, and that is Cycle City. And I'm here today with the owner, Joe Fox. And thank you, Joe, for joining us.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is awesome. So Joe and I have known each other quite a long while, and I'm going to have Joe tell his story about what he remembers of meeting me.
All right.
And maybe some of our early cycling together and experiences together.
Yeah. It's probably been, I think we figured out about 16 years since we met, and initially met riding and racing on the road. So that was a type of discipline that obviously we were both interested in. It was probably the most popular discipline in Kansas City at the time, was road racing, or criterium racing was the big thing that we both did. I was still in school at KU at the time, and we had a collegiate, kind of club team. So, a handful of us that raced there kind of interacted with other club riders from the Kansas City area, and Fred was one of them. You were with Cowtown probably at the time.
Yeah, Cowtown.
So a handful of mutual friends, guys that you were racing with, and guys that I was racing with, and that was probably our first interaction. I'm guessing was a spring fling. Would be my guess. Out in Lawrence, maybe some local, tour Kansas City or local crit or something like that. Right. So we both kind of came into the ranks and up through the ranks at the same time.
Yeah. So here's my big question. I actually don't know the answer. Did I ever beat you in a crit?
Probably. I would think. We were both pretty novice at the time.
Yeah.
That is a good question. I would imagine so. I'm sure there's something in there that you definitely had a higher finish in a race.
I was racing pretty good in spring fling, and when we first met, I was about when I was in my best shape.
Yeah.
But then I kind of started tapering off, and then you started going crazy. There came a point when I couldn't even stay on your wheel at some point. But
we all go through those.
Anyway. Yeah. So. I remember somebody had given me an old Cannondale touring frame, just gave it to me for free. I went out and rode it a few times on the road, and I noticed there were some people that just went flying by me, right? Yeah. So I thought, I got to figure out how to get this bike go faster. And I remember bringing it in to, what was it called back when it was on Prairie
Cycle City?
Road? Cycle City was the name of it, and I think Ryan Halloran was working.
Yeah, Halloran would have been working there.
And I said, how do I get this bike to go faster? And he looked at me and he says, well, maybe you need to get faster.
Yeah, there's definitely two ways. The bike has a big part, but the motor or the rider is the bigger part.
We did actually put, different wheels and, beefed it up a little bit. And I got to where I could almost hang, but then I get dropped, and I found out that my bike was like 25 pounds even souped up.
Yeah.
And everybody else that I was trying to stay with were on 16-pound bikes, right?
It makes a big difference.
So finally, when I went to a 16-pound bike, a Cannondale road bike, all of a sudden I was hanging. Yeah. It was kind of cool. Yeah. Let's see. What year did you guys start Cycle City?
04, April of 04.
And you were a KU student when you started?
I was still a KU student at the time. We had a partner here at the shop, and we kind of got it going and had two good service managers, Ryan and Gene, who helped us.
And Gene and Ryan are both still helping out part-time. That's amazing. Both still
here almost 17 years later. So.
Yeah, 17 years later. You started out doing criteriums mostly, some road races, and you were on the KU squad. Yep. Was Brian Jensen on that squad as well, or
he was outgoing as I was incoming?
Okay.
Him and Adam Mills, and we had a little bit of overlap with a couple of those guys.
Yeah.
Steve Schneller, there were some stronger riders in those at that.
Some names that the cycling audience would know, the competitive cycling audience would know. Yeah. And then after KU, did you jump into the shop full time at that point?
I did, yeah. So it was, I guess, spring of 05 is when I really started that right? Gosh, yeah. Yeah, it's about a year later when I was really
fine.
working full time and riding about as much as I could as well too. But yeah, we were there for almost 5 years, and we've been here in this location for almost 11 years.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, and we're in Parkville, just a little north of downtown Parkville. Is this called, what's this whole complex?
Parkville Commons.
Parkville Commons, yeah. So you started criterium and road racing with KU, then you started your own club team with Cycle City after that, right?
Yeah.
And you did road races and criteriums. Why don't you explain to people the difference between a road race and a criterium?
Sure. Yeah. A road race is generally one is a longer event. It can be anywhere from 30 to 60, 70 miles out on the open roads. So not necessarily with traffic, but you kind of a rolling road event through just natural road terrain. So a criterium is shorter lapped courses. They're usually give or take a mile, and you'll race for time. Oftentimes you'll race 40 minutes or 50 minutes, and it's basically the most number of laps that you can do in that time period. So criterium is a lot faster paced, a lot more aggressive. Generally oftentimes come down to a sprint finish, with multiple riders or the whole bunch sprinting at the end. That is just definitely a more thrilling event, I think. So they're more fun to watch. They're very
more crashes. Tear up all my nice bikes.
Yeah, definitely more crashes. A lot more spectator friendly. I prefer criteriums personally, but you get to a certain level and that you gotta just have it or you don't.
Yeah, the fastest crit that I ever did was out in St. Louis on Lafayette Square.
Yeah,
under the lights. It's a flat, big square course.
Yeah.
And I averaged 28 and a half miles an hour on one crit, which was the fastest I'd ever done. And I think we sprinted up to close to 40 on that finish, crazy stuff. So you kind of went from from road races and criteriums, then you kind of started changing up your racing.
Yeah, I evolved. Actually, mountain biking was what got me into it originally. I started riding mountain bikes. Around 2000, I guess, and then that kind of got me into road.
Did you do mountain bike races?
I did. My very first bike race was God's Country over in Lawrence.
Okay.
Old Chris Locke race.
Yeah.
So, probably 01, maybe 02.
Okay.
But I didn't really stick with. I just did it for fun. I had a buddy in high school.
Right.
We rode together, and then raced a little bit of mountain bike through KU, and mostly road stuff, and then kind of got back into mountain biking. I put my name in the hat, for Leadville 100. So I raced it in 06, I think.
This is a huge race, hard to get into.
Yeah, especially now.
Lance Armstrong has done it.
Yeah,
Floyd Landis has done it, right? All kinds of
big names out there for sure. So raced it, and then that kind of continued to evolve into more off-road stuff. A lot of gravel racing, a lot of ultra and distance events, both on and off-road, really.
Yeah.
So anything at the time, it was the longer the better for me, was what suited me.
Yeah, so I went from road and criteriums to I did a few cross races.
Yeah.
Where you have to mount and dismount a cross bike, which is a hybrid bike, similar to a gravel bike.
Yep.
And then I went from there to gravel racing, and then I went from gravel racing, and finally Scott Rogers got me into mountain biking.
Yeah.
So like my first mountain bike race was BT Epic, which was
that's a good first one.
Tough one to start, man.
Yeah, 50 miles and tough trails.
50 plus, and it kicked my butt, man. Some big climbs in there too. But anyway, but you tell people a little bit. You have done some incredible endurance events.
A long way.
Like this dude is superhuman endurance guy.
I feel like it's a lifetime ago. Probably the big one that kind of got me going into it was Dirty Kansas. It's kind of the granddaddy of all gravel events. It's a 200-mile gravel race. It started in Emporia, Kansas.
In the Flint Hills.
In Flint Hills. I think this is...
I finished it 3 times.
Finished it 3 times.
You've done it.
I finished it 10.
10
finishes.
Plus you've done the 350.
Yep, took third of the 350. And gosh, 3 years ago now.
Yeah, this is elite air right here.
It was a long 350 miles on a bike is a long time to be pedaling a bike.
Some people have said that the DK 200 is one of the toughest one-day
for sure
bike events in the world.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Like even compared with the one-day classics in Europe, except, and the only reason why it might compare is because you have to run your own support.
Yeah,
you don't have support vehicles.
Yeah, but the terrain, the terrain is just as challenging as you're going to see in France or Italy. There's so many pros that come over for this now because it's what they're racing 130, 140 miles over there with support cars and teams and everything. Now they're adding another 70, 80 miles to it and racing it more or less by themselves or with 2 or 3 other riders. It's cool to see what the pointy end of that race looks like these days. Totally different.
I remember one year I beat Chris Carmichael in the DK 200, which used to be Lance Armstrong's coach. And then one year I raced it. What's the German dude that did
Jens Voigt?
Jens Voigt.
Yeah,
I raced it with Jens Voigt one year. Pretty crazy.
Probably arguably one of the best cyclists ever. Just for longevity. The dude just raced at such a high level for so many years.
So then the 200 went to, they added a 350. So you start in the morning, a day and a half.
Evening, you start afternoon.
Like a day and a half before.
Yeah, the day before.
The 200. And you go all
night.
length. And
all the next
all
day.
Night. You don't stop. 350 miles.
Yeah, it took me 26 and a half hours.
26 and a half hours took third. But then you did something even crazier than that.
Did a race called the Tour Divide. It's an off-road mountain bike style race that starts in Banff, Alberta, Canada. So it's about 250 miles north of the U.S.-Canadian border, north of Montana, or the little Idaho, little long part of Idaho. Ways up there. It's all down the Rocky Mountains, and you race from there to Mexico, so almost 2,800 miles. And this is completely self-supportive, so no friends, no team, no outside.
Did you guys
support.
hear that? You start in Canada and you end in Mexico. And you ride the divide, which the Continental Divide. Basically, you stay on that for 2,800 miles, and you sleep as little as possible and race as much as possible.
Sleep. I didn't even carry a tent. Slept in a bivvy, a ground sack, basically, and a sleeping bag.
And how many days did that take you?
17 days. 2 hours and 35 minutes.
There's other people that do this that take over a month. To do it.
Yeah. My next time, I want to tour it. I want to do it for fun. I want to do it and enjoy it. And
I'd like to do it with you.
I'd love that. That'd be fun.
But you'd have to adjust your speed drastically.
It'd be awesome. It'd be awesome. 100 miles a day.
But how many people started that race?
A few hundred.
Yeah. And there's some really elite endurance athletes in there.
The year I
finished
seventh.
Seventh with some of the top elite endurance athletes in the world.
Yeah, the year I did it, the record was smashed. It's like it opened up that year. It's like when DK started getting big. Eventually, that 12-hour mark is not even a thing. So
Jensen did
this
10:30 or something that one year.
For this, the 15-day mark was kind of what we thought was unheard of, and
it's crazy.
There's a cool documentary called Ride the Divide. If you haven't seen it,
I've seen it.
Definitely check it out. So during that they were chasing the record the entire time. At the time, the record was 19 days, and we had 10 of us that went faster than that.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. A cool event. Just one of those that just, I don't know, it just changes your outlook on everything, and it's neat to see that part of the U.S. that you really can't even drive much of it.
Right.
At such a slow pace.
Yeah.
I average 160 miles a day, but it's really only 9 or 10 mile an hour average. You're just pedal slow. That's high. That's as fast as you can go. You're carrying your food and sleeping bag and provisions and everything else, and you just go slow. But
crazy.
It's
crazy.
Whenever you can do it.
All right.
It's back on my bucket list.
Well, I thought if we did it, we should do a fundraiser for one of our favorite nonprofits.
I love that.
Which is
the Global Orphan Project.
Global Orphan Project.
Yeah.
And we did do a trip together down to Haiti.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just give a minute on that.
Yeah. So the Global Orphan Project is it's a local non-for-profit that is on a grand international scale that does not just orphan care. A big part of what they do is orphan prevention, which I think is often overlooked. What caused the situation, what caused the rift in the family to begin with? Was it lack of income? Because a lot of times orphans their parents aren't necessarily gone. They can't support the children. They can barely support themselves in a lot of these countries. So the Global Orphan Project kind of helps mediate that through providing jobs, providing income, fair wages, whether it's a print shop or they have tilapia farms, whatever it is, they can help sustain a community that is helped supported through the church, and then help keep that family together is kind of step one. Step two is orphan care and prevention as well too. So
and education,
absolutely. Yeah. There's pass-through programs that help kids domestically and internationally as they age out of the program. Right. So very, very neat organization. I actually had coffee with Ivy a couple weeks ago in Chattanooga, and just reached out to him on a whim and was able to meet up with him real briefly one morning. And so we had a cool marketing guy at Global Orphan that was also a cyclist. That's kind of how it happened. I'm into cycling, was partnered with Global Orphan, and then a mutual friend of ours was also into cycling, was the marketing guy. And so we put together these really fun trips to Haiti. I think we did 3 bike rides in Haiti, and then did 2 in Uganda. Just kind of neat to once again see something on such a grand scale, but do it by bicycle. At a very slow, cool, interactive pace.
It was fun.
That
was a great trip. I did one to Haiti with the group, and we also took a ton of Cannondale bikes, built them up, and bikes. Gave them to the kids and all that kind of stuff. It was a lot of fun. And then I actually took your dad to Ethiopia with me.
That's right.
Helped start some stuff out there in Ethiopia as well. Well, let's go to the audience now. People are always ask me, hey, where do I go to get a bike? And what kind of bike should I get? I always send them to you. Yeah. So help some people. I know even through, maybe describe what's happened through COVID and help people get started with a bike if they don't already have one, if they're not already into it.
It can be kind of intimidating walking into a bike shop, or even starting the online process, because that's where a lot of people start their shopping these days is in front of the computer or on their phone. There's a lot out there, and I would say first and foremost, you're shopping for a relationship with a shop, or you're shopping for a shop is the big thing. So you could walk into here or one of the other dozen shops in Kansas City area and get a good, capable bike. Hopefully you have someone that'll help you outfit it, but there's a lot more that goes to it. And if someone walks in the door and they think they're looking for a certain type of bike, asking those questions and having someone on the other end be able to answer those questions and tell you or help instruct you or guide you to the right type of bike, because there's so many offerings out there. Some people just want to get out and ride for leisure, ride for fun, ride with their family. A guy might want to race with his buddies, whatever it is. A good shop can help point you to the direction of that bike, and you don't have to break the bank. We talked about this a little bit ago. Almost rather a person spend a little bit less. Buy a entry level bike, spend $500, even buy a used bike, instead of buying the $2,000 bike that you may or may not ride. Find out what works for you. Something obviously that meets your budget, but the type of riding that you want to do can evolve and change as well too. So find a bike that fits you well, that works for you, and a shop that can help cater to that, I think is the most important thing. So
it's great. So the thing about Cycle City, it's a full service shop. So you could pull an old bike out and get it fixed here. You can come in and sometimes buy a used bike, and then there's a pretty good inventory here of brand new bikes.
Right now there is,
now I know in COVID, they were flying out the door because everybody's trying to get outside.
Major challenges over the last, I guess, almost 11 months now. Right now we have a good selection of bikes. Racks are pretty well full. We don't have a lot of extra inventory in the back, but for the most part, if you walked in looking for looking for a bike for you or your family, we could most likely outfit you. 6 months ago, that probably wouldn't have been the option. This summer, we had almost empty shelves for several months, unfortunately. So kids' bikes and hybrids were probably the two, I guess mountain bikes were probably they were all challenging. So right now we have a great selection of kids' bikes, great selection of hybrids, which are really what most people should gravitate toward. It's a bike that can get you down a paved trail or a crushed gravel trail. There's a lot of trail systems in the Kansas City area that can be explored by bike, and a hybrid's a good option for that, and oftentimes the lowest price point as well too, which is good. But yeah, the inventory issues over the last year have been pretty challenging. Bikes are coming in. Parts are always a challenge. Tires, tubes, chains, brake pads, the little things that after doing this for so long you almost take advantage of, but you don't really think that we might be able to work on your bike, but we might not have a chain that fits your bike. So we're trying to adapt to that as best we can. But yeah, we're doing the best we can considering the situation. So.
People ask me a lot because they know I'm a cyclist, and so one of the things I find that people don't understand is that there's actually sizes of bikes. Yeah. Like you can come in here and actually get fit for a bike, which is very important.
Makes a big difference
over the long haul, that you have the right fit. It'll matter with your knees and your body and your positioning, your comfort level, all that.
It really does go a long way.
I think the other thing is people don't realize that there's several different kinds of bikes. So you've got mountain bikes, you've got hybrid bikes, you've got gravel bikes, you've got road bikes, and then e-bikes.
Yeah, we've got a decent selection of e-bikes.
E-bikes are going, and that's really hot now
definitely
too.
Growing, so it allows that customer that may or may not be able to ride at a level of capability that they would like to, or they want to ride with a spouse or a group that is able to ride longer, and they just don't have the ability to do so yet. That's a cool thing, is that e-bike can kind of allow a rider to grow with the bike as well too. But sizing is a big thing for sure. So I'm 6'3". My son, I just finally got him a good mountain bike that we've been having a hard time finding one for a while. He's 5 foot tall. He's on a small adult bike, whereas I would be on an extra large adult bike. So that obviously the discrepancy there is huge. But it's to be able to walk in and have someone help you find the size that is proper for you, because it really does make a difference, in comfort and fit and the ride quality and the enjoyment of it. So if you don't enjoy what you're riding, you're not going to want to spend as much time on it. So.
Yeah, it's fun. When I travel with people, we'll usually rent bikes a few times a day. Yeah. I mean, not a day, a few times a week. And I'm the cyclist, and other people aren't. They'll rent e-bikes. I get a regular bike, and they can absolutely crush me up the hill. Just crazy. They're just laughing at me. And so that's a little tip for all of you. If you want to get an e-bike, you can hang with just about anybody.
Yeah, for sure.
I had one guy who was riding with me up a mountain on an e-bike, and he couldn't figure out why he was beating me, because he knew I was pretty good. And I said, well, let me explain to you how much wattage an e-bike puts out versus a human body. Anyway, also price ranges. Give people what's kind of the bottom level, bike price range, and then what is it like? Give us what it goes up to.
Sure. Yeah. As far as a new bike, adult bikes, we're going to start around $450 in most categories, hybrid and mountain bike. So usually that $500 threshold will get you in and out the door as far as for a starter bike. So road bikes are going to start a little bit more, traditional road bike. One of the main things is the shifters and brake levers are all integrated, so there's just a lot more mechanism, a lot more moving parts to a traditional road bike, and they're going to start about $800, maybe $900 for a good road bike or gravel bike. As far as what they can get up to, we just took a deposit on a bike, and unfortunately won't see it for several months, but on a Moots, a handmade titanium frame out of Steamboat Springs, right at 9,000.
9,10,
yeah. They can definitely get up there for sure. So we have a couple $6,000 bikes, mountain bikes. Finally have some good higher end mountain bikes. So that's been a big thing this year. So I have a couple in stock right now, which is good. So
great.
But they can range.
People are always a little shocked when they hear how much you can spend on a bike. I used to have people come in and say, "I bet you spent a lot on a bike, like $500."
Yeah.
Going,
it's all about perspective.
We'll anyway.
Yeah.
So that's a great. So the other cool thing is that this shop has all the other stuff that you're going to need.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're doing long rides, the kind of fueling that you do with food. So all the kind of fueling that Joe and I use on long endurance races is in the shop. Yeah. You've got helmets, you got shoes, you got clothing, you got gloves, all the different accessories that you need.
There's a lot to it. The barrier of entry can be challenging. And like I said, it can be overwhelming. It's probably the biggest thing. But the nice part is once you're set, you're not going to be paying monthly fees or dues or anything to go to the gym. It's just nice to be able to get outdoors and enjoy what you want to do. Kind of on your time is the big thing. And there's a lot of people that have a lot of extra time right now. So folks that are working from home or whatever the situation is.
Yeah. And I'm an advocate because it's like therapy for me to ride a bike.
Yeah.
I mean, not only does it bring out that childlike wonder and love of the world, but I can see a lot of the world. There's something about literally it helps my mental health.
Yeah,
like the endorphins.
Yeah.
I do it by myself, there's benefit, but when I do it with the community of people that you can get to know, some of my best friends are cyclists now and all that kind of stuff.
Great community.
Great community. Yeah. So thanks for your service to the Kansas City area through Cycle City and through your nonprofit work as well.
Yeah, I love it. All right. Very good.
Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for joining in. Cycle City, come check it out.